Hi, I'm Seth with Wide Customs, and today we're going to be talking about why you're getting FPS drops, stutters, and all kinds of horrible gameplay experiences. So, most of your issues are stemming from the new Microsoft update, the Fall Creators update. Unfortunately, it's not optional because it's a security update, so they mandate that everybody gets it. The way this update was executed has caused a lot of issues for a lot of people. I don't want to say everybody has suffered from this update, but pretty much everybody I know who has upgraded hardware has seen some kind of issue with it. The update scheduler file will get corrupted. Sometimes it won't install files that it's supposed to. It'll overwrite files that it's not supposed to. So the only real way to successfully update to the Fall Creators update is if you get the Windows Media Tool and upload the files to a bootable USB drive and do a fresh install of Windows. That is really the only way to fix it. I'm sure some of you guys are having more issues than just the Windows update. So we're just going to cover how to fix the update right now, and then in another video I'll show you a few optimization tips and tricks to kind of help mitigate some stutters or other problems you might be having. But today we're going to cover doing a fresh install of Windows, because that's what fixed my issues and that's what fixed two of my other friends' issues. So I think it's pretty safe to say that that is the main cause of why lately everybody has been having a lot of issues with their games and other aspects of their operating system. So let's get into it. So today you're going to need two things. One, you're going to need internet access, and two, you're going to need a USB flash drive or removable hard drive of some kind. I recommend having at least 8 gigs of space on it. USB 3 is a plus because it will install faster, but USB 2.0 works just fine. So let's start by taking our removable media drive and plugging it into the computer. Okay, so here we are on the desktop. So first thing we're gonna do is open up File Explorer. I'm gonna go to this PC. If I go too fast, just go ahead and pause it to catch up. I'm gonna try and move through this kind of quick because this is a somewhat kind of lengthy process. It's not too bad, but it's more than 30 seconds. So we're in File Explorer. We find the drive that we want to use for our ISO. So we're going to use this D drive. So we're going to right click and we're going to go to Format and make sure it's the full size. FAT32 works, and make sure Quick Format is enabled. Hit Start. So what that did was that completely erased everything on the drive and made it a blank slate for us to put our Windows ISO on, because when we put our ISO on there, that's our operating system. We don't want anything else on there. So that is clear. There is absolutely nothing in there. So now you're going to open up your favorite web browser and just do a simple Google search of Windows Media Tool. So this top one right here, Windows 10 disk image file. This site is kind of slow, so patience is key. Hey, there it is. Okay. So download tool now. And here at the bottom, my download is done. So once you open that, this should open up. This is a program to mount the ISO to your removable drive. Okay, accept. This is not exactly a fast-paced, intense process, so again, you gotta be kind of patient with it. So create installation media. Absolutely click that, because if you're like me and you have more than one drive and you try and overwrite the wrong drive, you are going to be in bed crying, eating ice cream for a long time. So, create installation media. Very important you click that. Next. Windows 10 64-bit, yes. Use recommended options. I don't know what that means. Yeah, sure, I guess. Okay, flash drive, yep. It needs to be at least 8 gigabytes. So I was right. Movable drives. Make sure your correct one is selected. And so now it is mounting all of those files onto my flash drive. And this may take a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut to when it is actually done, because I'm not gonna make you suffer through that. Okay, so this next part, we're gonna go ahead and restart. The drive finished the installation, uploading the ISO on the flash drive. It kind of just says, hey, it's done, and then you click finish, and then it goes away, so it's not really anything notable there. So we are going to go into the BIOS. Should press delete or F2 when you get to your BIOS screen. And we are going to go over to boot. And on boot option 1, you are going to want to make sure it says UEFI USB flash memory PMAP partition 1. Select that. So what this means is when you go to save your changes, that is going to be the first thing that it boots into. So we're going to go to exit, save changes and reset. It says we didn't make any changes, but we totally did. So this time we're going to let it roll through the BIOS screen because we already made the changes that we needed to. I made a huge mistake going with USB 2.0. Strongly recommend you go with USB 3 because that took entirely too long to mount that image on the flash drive. Okay, so obviously choose your appropriate language and all of your metrics there. You go to install. Simple starting, taking 40 years. I already have a product key, so I don't have to re-enter that or whatever. I'll just say I don't have one. I'm using Windows 10 Pro, but make sure you know what your operating system is specifically before you get into the screen. If you don't know, you can always back out of this. This is not finalized yet. You haven't deleted any info. You haven't formatted your drive yet. So you can always just turn off your computer and go back and see what your operating system is before we proceed. So, x64, Windows 10 Pro is what I have. Accept, and then it should show up with the drives. So I always do custom. This means it completely wipes everything and you're starting fresh. So we need to find, oh man, this is wild. Okay, so I need to figure out which drive is which, because they don't show drive paths or anything. So total space, that must be my 2 terabyte drive. There's all these little ones. That's my 4 terabyte drive. So this must be my boot drive, because that has, yep, okay, that's my 500 gig drive. So we're gonna go ahead and format this. And this is where you lose all of your data. This is where everything on that drive gets completely wiped. And this is why it's important to have a drive just for your OS. If your motherboard has M.2 options, go ahead and, oh, lost train of thought. Okay, drive 1, partition 5. 464 gigabytes. Okay, next. So now it's physically going to install Windows on this drive. But yeah, if your motherboard is M.2 compatible, get either an SSD M.2 drive or an NVMe drive, and you just bolt it into your motherboard, and it's just always there. You don't have any wires to run. You don't have to worry about SATA power, SATA data cables. And if you get one of those small drives, they're fairly inexpensive. As a matter of fact, I got a 128 gigabyte one on eBay, brand new, for $30, and it runs at standard SATA speeds, 500 gigabytes per second. So if you ever have any issues like this where Microsoft wants to play games and they ruin your Windows install, all you have to do is wipe it. It's not a big deal. Just go in there, and then whatever settings you change, that's all you have to redo are the settings in Windows. You might have to, re-upload your favorite background picture, and that's it. Super simple, no headache. So I am just gonna cut the footage right here because this might take a minute. I don't think I should have to make you guys sit through this. So I will cut to where this is done. Okay, so now we are actually installing Windows. So this is basically just testing your common sense here. Choose the layouts and settings that apply to you. Nothing really too complicated here. Skip that. So all of this I turn off because this is extra stuff that your computer is going to have to work to process. And I don't need any of that crap on my computer. I personally hate this new installation process, and they're making it way more difficult than it needs to be. So at this point, we're pretty much done choosing settings and selecting options. It's pretty much going to be autopilot until you get to the desktop, and then that is where we will resume. So now I have an external USB network adapter, Wi-Fi adapter, so I need to install the network drivers for that. I had to pull them off of another computer that had internet so I could download them from the internet. Because you need internet to get drivers to get internet, which is stupid. So make sure you have those drivers loaded onto something beforehand. If you do have an external Wi-Fi adapter like myself, if you don't have it incorporated into your PC. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to download Streamlabs OBS to continue capturing on the screen all the driver installations, which is what we are going to do next. Okay, so here we are on our fresh Windows install screen. I did have to go ahead and get drivers for the webcam and for my interface so I can record this, but that is all I did. So the very first thing we are going to do is go to Google and get rid of this horrendous garbage called Microsoft Edge. I don't care if you use Firefox or Chrome or what have you. Oh damn, no, get rid of that. Oh, I think it's too late. But do not use Microsoft Edge because it is trash. So it's showing on my off monitor right now. The download, installing. Okay, and essentially, we just did that to make getting all of our drivers more, I don't know, just better. So we don't have to deal with Edge getting all of our drivers. So, first thing we need to do is get chipset drivers. So I have an Asus X470 board, so we are going to go to Asus's website and get those drivers. This is better. Maybe Windows 10 64. Okay, so we should have the same BIOS because that stays with the motherboard. Audio, LAN, utilities. Improve software stability. Interesting. USB. Chipset. Oh man, we have SATA drivers. Oh, we have all kinds of stuff we need to get. Okay, so we'll get chipset. USB. Utilities. I don't need LAN. I don't need audio. And SATA. So all of these should be conveniently located in our downloads folder. Yep. So once these are done downloading, any minute now. How big are these downloads? Oh, 400 megabytes, 93 megabytes, 83 megabytes, 722 megabytes. Ugh. Once these are done downloading, we'll install these, and this is the first wave of drivers that we need to install. So basically it goes, once you boot into Windows, I would probably just switch to whatever browser you want because you're going to be using that constantly. Just get that out of the way. And then you're going to be doing system driver updates. So whether you have an audio interface like me, update that. All of your motherboard drivers, do those first. Absolutely do those first. If your motherboard BIOS is out of date, load the new BIOS onto your removable media drive, and then boot into your BIOS and go ahead and flash that to the newest version, proving that it doesn't have a lot of problems. You know, sometimes that'll happen. But if you know your new BIOS is good, flash that. And then once we're done with all this, we get to move on to our graphics card, and then last our peripherals. Okay, so we've installed all of our chipset drivers, the SATA, all that other stuff. So we're going to go ahead and just do a quick restart to let all that take effect, and then we're going to press on with some more drivers. Okay, so we did our quick restart. Now we are going to move over to doing our GPU driver install, our video drivers. So this is pretty easy. Just type in, I have a GTX 1080 Ti, so for me I'm going to be using Nvidia drivers. If you have like an R9 or an RX card or something made by AMD, you'll be going to their website for their driver support, but I'm using Nvidia, so Nvidia drivers, download drivers, pretty easy. So I do not have a Titan, I have GeForce, RTX, yeah right, 1080 Ti, 64-bit, search, what is this, 416, this is the newest one. I actually don't want the newest one because that kind of makes me a little bit nervous with the release of all of the new stuff. So I actually want older drivers. Where is it? Beta and older drivers. So by doing this, you can actually install an older driver. And hopefully they haven't tampered with them yet. So I had 399.24 previously, and I know it worked well. So verify up there before you click download. 399.24. I know this driver works well, so I'm going to be using this driver. I know it's not current. If you have an RTX card, probably get the current one because it's still in development. You know, they're not going to nerf a card that they just came out with. But that could be a potential thing with the 10 series cards. I don't know. Do I want to risk it? No. So I'm going to get an older driver that I know I didn't have issues with. When it comes to driver versions and BIOS versions, stick with what you know. If you know it works on your computer and the new updates don't matter to you, If they're just niceties, they're not improvements or anything, stick with what you know. Always do that. So we have this guy right here. Download to the C drive. So this guy is going to install. Well, it's downloading the files, and then it's going to actually pull up the installer. And when it pulls up the installer, there are a specific set of instructions you need to follow to do this correctly. This also applies if you're using DDU, display driver uninstaller. If you have like the wrong version or something's not working out for you, use DDU to get rid of your previous display driver, and then follow these steps. Also, I forgot to mention, on the initial boot after installing Windows, my resolution was all crazy. Everything looks zoomed in, and it was only recognizing one of my monitors. All you have to do is go to right click on the desktop, go to display settings, and then change that resolution to whatever your monitor's native resolution is. Both of mine are 1440p. The one that you're watching right here is a 21:9, 3440 by 1440p. My other one is 16:9, also 1440p. So just make sure you switch it to your native resolution, or it'll look all blown up and pixelated and bleh. Oh man, this is taking a long time. Oh, actually, last time I did this, I just remembered I wasn't even able to go through Nvidia when I did this. Oh, cool, it's letting me. Okay, last time it said Windows was not compatible with this driver. If you get that error, if you get a Windows compatibility error while trying to download this graphics driver, go to whatever brand your GPU is. Like, let's say I have an EVGA for the Win3. I would go to EVGA's website and get the Nvidia drivers from there. That's how I got the workaround for getting an old one, and they have all the older drivers on there too, so you can do that. So we're gonna do just the graphics driver. We're not getting GeForce Experience. So green, continue. We're doing custom, and then we're performing a clean installation. So that makes sure there's nothing on here. That makes sure that we're getting a 100% clean start. There's nothing else graphics related on here right now. And by doing that, we ensure that we're not going to clash with any other software, any other drivers. It's just going to be the Nvidia stuff on there, and that's it. And that's what you want. So I'm going to let this finish installing, and then I'll do a quick walkthrough for. So I kind of got cut off there mid-install. While it's doing the graphics driver update, it will black screen, it will do all kinds of crazy weird stuff. Just chill and hang out and wait for it to finish. I promise you it's totally normal. It does it every time. So now I'm going to move on to getting my iCUE software real quick. I use the Corsair Strafe first gen RGB keyboard, and I have the Corsair Scimitar Pro. So using Google, just type in iCUE. Should be that first one coming up from Corsair. So of course it's gonna try and advertise a bunch of stuff, blah blah blah. Download iCUE, and this should be pretty cut and dry. I don't understand why this driver software is 293 megabytes. That's pretty insane. So that's gonna download, and then you install it. There's no special instructions, just do the default install, it'll be fine. So yeah, we are going to be done with the drivers portion of this. I'm gonna get Steam going, and then we are going to see what our FPS looks like now that we are done doing all of this driver install stuff, and now that we have the newest version of Windows on here. Also, I forgot to mention, there are a couple things we need to go over in the Nvidia control panel. So once your graphics drivers are done installing, right click, you should see an Nvidia control panel option right there. click that. There are a couple settings we're going to run through here to make sure we have maximum performance. So top one, prefer performance, manage 3D settings. This is a big one. Okay, so gamma correction off. Maximum pre-rendered frames 1. Open GL rendering 1080 Ti, whatever your card is. Power management, prefer maximum performance. Refresh rate application controlled, yeah. Shader cache, you can leave that on. Some games do have issues with it, so if you notice that you're getting kind of low frames in a game, you can switch that off and see what that does for you. I know some games have issues with it, but not all of them, so by default I'm going to leave that on. Negative LOD bias, we're going to leave that on clamp. Texture filtering, we're going to put high performance. Threaded optimization on. And triple buffering off, vertical sync off, virtual pre-rendered frames 1. Yes, apply these settings. We're going to go down one more tab, configure surround, PhysX, 1080 Ti. Okay, display, change resolution. So, yes, this is correct for my left side monitor, my IPS. However, my gaming monitor, I need to make sure this is set at 100. Not the correct native resolution, which it is, so that's good. So this is kind of a big deal right here. We're on the adjust desktop color settings tab. Right here, this is where some people have a lot of issues. This can cause stuttering and all kinds of problems. No idea why. I guess it fights with the other color control settings incorporated within Windows or whatever controls it. Always use Nvidia settings. You don't have to change the specific color settings or anything like that in there, but make sure it is selected to use Nvidia settings. So we're going to skip to stereoscopic 3D. We don't need video color with Nvidia on both monitors. I better make sure that's enabled for both as well. Yeah. Okay, so for both monitors, if you have more than one, make sure you set them individually. Otherwise, they will change. Use Nvidia settings for everything. Okay, so it looks like we are good to go. At the bottom, hit apply. That option should go away if it's successfully applied. So we can close that, and now we should be able to take a game for a test drive and see how it does. So let's take a look. And now you can see, opposed to before, how we were only getting 50, 60 something frames inside the building. Now we're getting 100 plus. So this is way better than how it was before. Alright, so that is how you deal with the frame rate being dropped and the stuttering, all the other stuff. I will be releasing another video how to optimize your experience gaming. There's a lot of Windows features you can tweak to improve that. But for the Fall Creators Update, that's really what you have to do, is just redo the installation of the new version of Windows, because their auto update feature is all kinds of messed up. So hopefully that helped. Drop a comment down below if that fixed your problems. Share and subscribe. Don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching.